Hey everyone, welcome to the UFO live stream. And today is Open Lines, where we basically just share stories and hang out together online. So, for those of you who have joined, welcome. For those that have expected an interview, I'm sorry, that's not what we're having today. It's simply just people calling in and through Telegram, sharing their stories, and just basically hanging out. I still don't have anyone lined up for Friday, but tune in Friday or check out some of the other interviews that I've did earlier. There was one with Lisa O'Hara that was about her book called Abducted and Furious, and it's basically about alien and military abductions. And of course, then Monday I had the one and only Whitley Strieber, so please check that out. But today is just hanging out online. Um, Before I begin, or before I check to see who else is in Telegram, there's a few things I wanted to cover with you today. I made myself a little list. So, first things first, I usually don't check my phone. I turn it off, and whatever could happen, I'll just let it happen. But today I have it closely watching because some of you I might have noticed I mentioned my wife being pregnant and yada 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 throughout these different shows. Well, she's getting to pop any minute now. So today we thought it was probably baby time, and I expected I was going to cancel this, but then it turned out just a very heavy contraction. Anyway, so I have my phone here. If I see it, depends on what the message is. She might just need my assistance a little bit, or I might just leave and shut off the screen of the stream. So I apologize for that. I know it's very unprofessional, but I hope you understand. I love you all, but she's the one and only in my life. So, well, of course, I have my kids, but they're second and third and fourth. So anyway, the regarding that, so got that covered. What I wanted to talk about next was something. I know it's not UFO related, but it's regarding Colombia, and I got across some of the footage of some stuff happening there, and all bunch of chaos and protests and kind of escalating beyond protests. So I was on the phone for quite a bit with my friend Rick, who is down there right now, actually in that general area where a lot of that is happening, and he's trying to see, what he can do to maybe, flee the country or leave it. Depends on how bad it gets, because it already got bad enough. So anyway, I was just talking with him and joking around. I said, hey, if you need me to send the Arkansas National Guard, I will. You just let me know what I got to do, and so I hope he has some options. I don't know if going to the U.S. Embassy would help him out any, but a lot of stuff is happening that's not clarified, verified, and so I don't want to say it in case it is false, but it seemed very disturbing. So I don't want to just spread you know fake news or lies. So I'm not going to say anything other than what I've heard from my friends and people that live down there. So usually I don't have any topics that I would like to start out with, and again, this open lines is literally open for us to talk about everything and anything that we can possibly talk about, and I mean, I hope to stick to the UFO, alien, all this other stuff, but sometimes some other things come up that are just pertinent and important, so why not? Um, Something that I didn't think about, because my outlook when it comes to alien contact is always very positive, to always thinking that if anything is government related, if they release it, it's always yay, we're close to disclosure. But the thought occurred to me that I hope that all these different releases and all this stuff that's been happening, that it's not something that they're setting up to then come come June, I believe, or July, when they do release some of these documents, that they're not trying to set it up or portray it somehow as some kind of alien invasion. That I hope they really don't go that direction. Because I kept just thinking, oh yeah, they're just gonna disclose what they know and whatnot, but never, not never, but not at this moment. It never really hasn't occurred to me to go, what if they setting all this up to be something more negative? Because I wouldn't let it pass the government, because generally, you know if you're a victim, there's a danger, to be worried about, then you need the government for this, to protect you and help you. But if it's something that generally would kind of put them out of their job, so to say, I don't know how well or how much they would like that. So it's just some thoughts that have been rattling around in my melon for a couple of days now, and so I just wanted to kind of share them with you. Yeah, I'm sure everyone has their own thoughts and opinion on this. So again, I'm hoping they release more, and those that need it will find out what it is that they know, and helps them out somehow. Some of us, and most of us that have actually had contact, we already know what's going on. They're there, they exist, and we just trying to work more on our internal, um, I guess, internal understanding of what contact means. Because anyone that had contact, it changes your life forever, and you kind of are still dealing with it for years and going back and trying to figure things out. So anyway, I'm just putting that out there, that I hope that they're not going to go that direction, but you know, you never know. So if some of you, if you have an opinion on it, or just have a cool story that you would like to share, or any story that you would like to share that you haven't shared with anyone before, you're welcome. So just to come by, download the Telegram app on your computer or on your phone, and you can basically find a UFO Hub group, and just join the voice chat. It should be right on top saying that it's ongoing right now, and then you can just be in contact with me directly. So let me see who we have here. There we go. Okay, so we have Bradley and Patrick so far. So yeah, I mean, if you want to join Telegram just to use it to listen, please do. You might pop up on the list, but only when you raise your hand does that tell me that you actually want to talk to me. But right now we have uh, in chat Bradley Cortez, welcome. Learning to Love 111, welcome. And Renee Cruz, also welcome. So um, yeah, let me see if there's anyone in Telegram that would like to start off. Let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep on chit chat. And if there's any of you in chat that might have a question, especially when it's slow like this, I'll read it and see if I can interact with you somehow. Because this is mainly just for everyone that's just everyone else like me. We're just hanging out online, having our own little open lines meetings and sharing stories. And usually I always just have these interviews that start out with a very specific purpose. Let's ask questions. Let's get to the bottom of some things. The interview ends and it's done. But this is the most unorganized thing that I've done, and I kind of would like to keep it that way, because when you try to force something that oh, it has to happen, we have to speak, I have to say something, it's you just kind of pushing a ball uphill, and I would just rather chill with everyone else here and see whatever else might come up. Yeah, Bradley said family first. Yeah, I think my wife would agree, because yeah, we were not sure, because she was cooking some food for the kids, and I was just sitting there relaxing before I come out here to do this, and I guess just standing, it's gotten to a point to where it's heavy enough, and so she sat down and just had that look on her face, and I was like, is it baby time? She's like, I don't know. It's like, well, you just let me know, because we got things in plan, what we need to bring with us, where we're going to take the kids, and who's going to watch them, and they got hopefully their clothes ready in their backpacks. So um but yeah, it could be any moment now, so any time between now. I love the doctors. They're almost, they're worse than the cable people. Oh, it could be any time between now and 2 weeks. It's like, okay, so can you give us a bit more info? It's like, well, look for your contractions. If they happen so many per hour, then come out. If not, then it's just your body getting ready to have the baby. And sometimes when they kick in, they're so heavy, and difficult, to deal with, that you don't know, is it time or is it not time? Will it pass in a few minutes, because you don't want to get going and you're halfway there and it's like, oh, no, false alarm. But yeah, let me see. Gnome Bear said, abducted repeatedly most of my life. I remember much of it through hypnosis. Well, if you would like to log in to Telegram, please log in and share your story. Love to hear it. UK lady, welcome. Roland, hello, welcome. Just joined chat. I realize that my chat, I think, is about 20-second delayed, so sometimes it throws me off looking at all my screens. I was like, why am I silent? And then I realized, oh, it hasn't gone out to the stream yet. Well, some of you that are in on Telegram right now, do you just want to chit chat a little bit, just so that there's another voice? If not, that's okay. I'm just putting that out there. Okay, Patrick. All right, Patrick, you unmuted. Just unmute yourself on your end and just start talking.
Hey, there we go. Hello, my name is Pat Malloy. Uh, I,
Hi,
I was
welcome.
raised in South, I was raised in South Texas, out in the middle of nowhere, and I think I was about three that I remember the first abduction, and there were they looked like little monks, little old monks. And I remember the first time I was aware of them, I was in the kitchen and getting a drink of water. And I'm just a little bitty guy, and I'm on a stool getting the water. And I looked up in the window, and there they were staring at me. And I could see them clearly. The deal is, I knew they were floating in air because that window was a good 9 feet off the ground on the outside. So
Oh, that's pretty
they
high.
scared the heck out of me. Yeah. So they scared the heck out of me. And but from then on, I knew that I was being abducted. I just knew that things were going on. My father was also being abducted, and the deal is, I was so angry with him as a child because he wasn't protecting me from these people, and it was only with an adult mind I could look back and see, well, he was on the same boat that I was in. He was being abducted as well. So I'm not so sure, but I'm pretty sure that somewhat sure that most of my siblings have been abducted as well. So this has continued on until I was in my 60s, and I was working in healthcare. I was about to retire, and I was having problems with claw marks on my back and scabs and bleeding when I went to work in the morning. And working in a hospital, that's we're very careful with blood. So a bloody shirt usually sent me home right away. I mean, I usually, but the scabs would be gone by the end of the day. It'd almost be healed up, and there's just no way I could have scratched it. No way. I wasn't wearing any necklaces or anything that could have left those claw marks. And I've joined a UFO experiencer support group where I live, and the stories are pretty much the same. Some have more vivid memories. They've been taught a language, or some people say they've actually flown a ship or whatever. But I did regression with the Dolores Cannon trained hypnotherapist, regression therapist. We did
Mm.
5 regressions, and that's where most of the information came forward. It's been an interesting journey. I think it formed or molded my life into the direction that I've gone in. I work in high technology and have worked in technology for many years. So
Right.
that that's it.
Well, well, Patrick, do you? What I was going to ask about, have you then discovered what some of the reasoning for your abductions? What was the Was there any point to him, or were you just still confused about why it was happening?
They left implants in my ear. That one got infected when I was a little boy, and I could play with them, and within no time they would become very sore. And so I had to have, I think I still have the scars where they've been cut out by surgeons, but it was mainly harvesting from me, whatever it was they were harvesting. And
And you said
I'm,
go ahead. I was
go
just gonna
ahead.
say you said they looked they were monk-like or behaved like monks. Do you know what?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the ones that would take me looked like monks, but once I was on board, those people were wearing lab coats, and it had the smell of a dirty refrigerator. It just had that funky refrigerator needs to be cleaned out smell. And the people, they were very kind and very gentle, but it was frightening nevertheless. And there were beings there that I wasn't allowed to see, but I have a suspicion this one was a mantis type character. But the feeling of love and bliss would overflow me sometimes, and it would be like right here. I really felt loved, but at the same time I was scared,
Right.
and it
So, did
was
you ever talk to your dad about, what was happening to him? Did you guys ever exchange or share any stories?
yes, we did. Yes, we did. Before he died, he said, "Look, I know how you feel," and he said there's nothing I can do about it. And but I wasn't hearing it at the time. I was still full of rage, and I really wished if I could go back in time, I would like to have just discussed it without the emotions there. Yeah,
Right, right. Well, I mean, I guess in a way I can understand, especially when you're a child, that's the idea that's put kind of in your head that your parents are there to protect you.
right. I became extremely fearful of situations where I didn't have control, and I have studied child sexual abuse, and the dynamics are very much the same. And I think it's because of the sexual nature. It wasn't really sexual, but the way they harvested whatever it was, uh, it was a violation. And so, but I have never been sexually molested, not not by anybody on this planet. I'm
Right,
a kind
right,
of a big guy, kind of a big guy too. I mean, so there's a lot of stuff that finally came to a head when I got the regression therapy, and I'm very thankful for that. Very, very much
right.
so.
And so, were these abductions happening? I'm sorry if I missed it earlier. You said so. The first event was when you're younger, and then did it continue throughout your life?
I think it was happening before I remembered. I think that probably as a baby, or maybe even in vitro, I was probably watched. But most of my life, I felt like I'm being watched.
Hmm.
And I have lived all over the planet. I have worked everywhere, and it's not it's just not it doesn't match up.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, were there any more interactions? Was it just basically them coming to do whatever they felt like they need to do and move on, or did you get to have more interactions and speak to them in some way, or at least to express anger or rage or whatever? Were you able to recall any of that?
Well, I have interactions with them. Sometimes they're visible, sometimes they're not. I was in out in the middle of nowhere in Arizona. I was driving to Prescott, and I kept seeing what I thought were balloons, weather balloons. It was the middle of the day, and they were beautiful. They were iridescent in color, and I just kept looking at them while I was going down the highway. There were no other cars on the highway, which I thought strange. And I kept thinking I was going to go over a rise and I would see a car lot. and these balloons would be tethered to, some used car lot or something, you know. And that didn't happen. As a matter of fact, I stopped on the side of the road and just watched them. But I could not let out of my mind balloons, balloons, balloons. When actually, I could see that these were not balloons. They were orbiting each other. They would fly away from each other and come back. They appear to meld, and then this went on for some time, and then they just took off, just flew away quickly, abruptly, and I still could not get loose from the balloon uh, monicure, if you call it. I just couldn't let it go. When everything else in my mind said, "These are not balloons, you idiot."
Well, that's interesting. If I don't want to take away too much of your story, but when I had my physical experience, there was a similar thing where it was just initially one red orb and then turned into two. And the whole time I just kept thinking helicopter, 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 but there's nothing like helicopter like about it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was just my mind trying to make sense of it, and so if I was telling myself something, it would just make me feel better, or what. But I know exactly what you're talking about. Can you hear
So
me?
working
Okay.
in healthcare, yes, working in healthcare, it seems like they were very interested in what I was doing. Uh, and there were times when I'd be alone in a server room with a bunch of servers there in the basement of a hospital, and I would feel a presence. And it was friendly. I didn't feel weird about it. And hospitals are haunted anyway, but I just felt there was somebody overseeing some of the highly technical work that I was doing at the time. I was part of what they called informatics, healthcare informatics, where you get all of these diverse technologies to communicate with each other. And it was in its infancy, and I've always been sort of a troubleshooter and out there on the front line with technology my entire life. So
Mm.
I don't know if that has a direct connection to it or not. But I do have these guides that are invisible that have helped me solve some serious problems. And I call them my old dead geeks, but I don't know who they are. But they have walked me right to the problem when nobody else could find it. So I just have learned to rely on them.
And you're talking about problems in your job, like something broke or something didn't work. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, yes, highly technical problems. And also in my regular life, I've learned to give a lot of stuff over to my I call it higher power that I just can't handle. Sometimes it's a relationship that's gone bad, or I wouldn't say gone bad, but just gone south. And, pain, that sort of thing that we deal with in the human experience.
Right.
I also work as a healer. I do healing. I am able to channel healing energy, and I remain astounded every time I see it work. Uh, I don't understand it. I just know I can feel it, and so I do it. And um,
Is this
yeah,
something
go
that
ahead.
came about from interactions with them, or just because you were initially interested in this ufology field that you came across it?
Well, it was something that suddenly was just in my face, and I couldn't look any other way. And this happened in a hospital. I was working in the intensive care unit, and uh, I just heard this voice that said, "This person can be easily healed. Just put your hand on them." And so I did, and I felt something go through me into this person. And so since then, I have studied many different types of healing, Reiki, the reconnection, oh, you name it. I've looked into it, and I don't really have a label for it. I just know that I'm able to do this sort of thing, and I've seen miraculous things happen. Uh, and I can't take credit for it. It's not coming from me, it's just coming through me.
Right. No, I see what you mean. I actually, a lot of people I talk to, I've noticed that because um, they just feel this energy, and they're basically guided to do certain things. Over time they kind of get to know what they are and develop them into their own little movements. And but it's just something that they do and feel like doing, and it benefits us, to people. And what was weird is there was an interview in the very very beginning when I first started. I did with Ginny Blankenship, and she's a healer too. And so after we did the session, she's like, would you like me to demonstrate? And this wasn't on camera. I wish I could just record my life all the time so it's ready, so if something happens, it can
Mhm.
be, captured. But so I just sat there, and she just asked me, just to relax, if I wanted to close my eyes and make myself feel a bit more comfortable, whatever helps me to just relax. And I was sitting upright. And so she was just doing whatever she was doing, but with my eyes closed, I couldn't see it. I just kept seeing like this purplish energy, like going back and forth. I was like, I know my eyes are closed. I can tell the sun is to my right, but it was kind of already dampened through some other curtains, so it wasn't as strong, but it was still light coming through, and you can kind of tell when your eyes are closed. The same way when I do now, I see where the main light source is coming from. Well, anyway, what's interesting is that I opened my eyes through one of those things, and it was her arm moving around, but
Mhm.
I could see it purplish color, and sense it's like almost, when there's like enough energy that when you get close to your hair, it kind of like starts kind of going up. That's
Yeah.
what it felt like, but she was
Mhm.
much further away from my head, and whatever she was doing. So that was interesting. Whether there's a scientific explanation for that or not, it doesn't matter. It was cool either way. And but it did make me feel better. I wasn't as tense, and just these, minute or two, that's all it took. So I don't know if it's exactly how it is that you go about it, but when I, it's always refreshing to me when, when I get to witness something for myself for the first time. Because you always hear about Reiki healing, and everyone's
Right.
looking at videos, or looking at from the outside and going, what are these silly people doing? And they don't understand maybe the energy that's going on between the two.
Right. Right. So I'm just a guy with a garden hose, and I'm
Right.
just standing there watering the plants. The energy isn't coming from me, but just through me, and I'm directing it. But I don't always know on a conscious level where I'm directing it. It seems to take control over my hands, and it will go where it wants to go. I don't need to be even on the same planet with the person I'm doing this energy work with. They can be in another city, another state. As far as I know, they can be on the moon. If I just have an idea of what they look like, or a connection, like knowing somebody that knows them, then I can do it at a prescribed time with them. And I love doing it. I always get something out of it. It renews me as it renews them. So I don't do it all the time. I'm not doing it professionally. I have offered many, many, many friends my services, and some kind of are tongue in cheek about it, but none of them ever refuse it.
Right.
So, as a matter of fact, I've had some people ask me to do, they call it voodoo, if I could do some more voodoo on them, that it worked. So,
Right.
uh,
That's funny.
it's not voodoo. It's just I think I'm channeling maybe the energy that maybe some of these beings that have worked on me have gifted me with. So
Right.
that's
Well, Patrick, sit tight. I
pretty
just want
much
to
it.
ask you a few more questions. I just want to address the general audience real quick. So,
Sure.
anyone that's watching right now, you can join me on Telegram. If you have some stories you would like to share, come on in. Just download the app, Telegram. You can also find a link in the description below, and find the UFO Hub group and join it. there's a voice chat going on right now, and just simply there should be a button that looks like you're raising your hand, which tells me that you want to speak, and then that way I'll just keep you in my queue and have you come on next whenever you are ready. So don't be afraid. Join us whenever you can. So, Patrick, I just want to ask you regarding again the monk. Like, was it something those beings could is it just something how you would you say would you label them as grace or were they something else?
There was something else. I have seen grays, and they look more like. I worked in Alaska, and they look to me like tall Arctic hares. I mean, they're not tall beings, but they look like huge rabbits to me, and with big eyes. And where I lived in Alaska, there was a lot of UFO activity. Um, so getting back to these creatures that I initially remembered, I just got the feeling they were incredibly old, very old. I mean, maybe 1,000 years old. They looked like ancient men, and these robes that they had on, it made them look like they were brown. They made them look like little bitty Franciscan monks.
Mm,
Uh, so they were sweet. Uh, they weren't. Nobody was ever violent with me. I mean, they had to restrain me, but I was just a little boy. Oh, and one time I drowned, and they pulled me out of the river. Excuse me. I was probably about 4, and I fell in a river and into a deep current, and it dragged me under, and I was breathing water in, and I could see. I know that I left the body because I was separated from it, and then it was like this huge hand just reached into the river and put me on the shore, and and then I was coughing water and that sort of thing. But
mm-hmm.
it was I know they were watching me. I mean, they were doing a lot better job than my mother, I might add.
Right. Well, I mean, well, I hope that because there's some kind of compassion and they want to save you because of that. Instead, they're like, "Oh, our test subject is gonna die. We better save him for many more years of testing." You know.
Yeah. Well, they this year I had probably about $20,000 worth of medical tests run, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with me whatsoever.
Mm,
And we were chasing after some problems, which we later identified as a dietary issue. And so I've just changed my diet, and most of it's gone. But I've seen 7 specialists, heart specialists, whatever. And for somebody my age to have that kind of clean bill of health, it's phenomenal. It
good. Yeah.
really is.
That's
So
yeah. That is good to know too. Patrick, I
yeah,
think you
I
answered
give
this
I
one
give
already.
them credit for a lot of.
Oh, I
Go
see.
ahead.
Like them helping you out throughout the years.
Yes.
Uh, I think I asked you this already, but this one is from Roland in chat. He's asking, did they say anything to him that he can recall?
The way they communicate with me is like downloads, and they also plant seeds. And when I say seeds, they're thought seeds that sort of blossom later on, like later after the event, maybe in the week. Something will just hit me, and it'll be so clear, and I'll understand it implicitly. So it was never verbal. And probably my screaming was the most verbal thing, but when I was a kid, but it was always telepathic.
Right.
Yeah, but
And was it
it's
just
a far
because of,
better. No,
no, I'm sorry,
it's
go
just
ahead.
a far better way to communicate. It's far better than verbal, but and because you implicitly understand it, and it's a lot of information at once.
Right. And regarding your screaming, was it just because you were scared and not knowing and understanding what's going on, or was there something that caused pain?
I was terrified, and it did cause pain. Yeah, it was painful.
Right. Yeah, because a lot of different stories. Earlier I mentioned that I interviewed Lisa O'Hara, and she had a lot of I guess what's described mill lab or military abduction type scenarios, and I think halfway through she sent me some pictures, so I put the pictures up on there too to show what she was referring to, different triangular marks of, I guess, some kind of type of syringes that were left these bruises behind and whatnot. And just this whole general scenario, in my experience, has always been very, very like growing and understanding, experience. And so it's almost like this is going somewhere, catch up, understand it, so that you can convey it eventually. That was my understanding, but I can't say that. Obviously, some that I've talked to, and most that I've heard of, that it's always those physical things having to deal with while it's happening, having to either be scared because of how they look, or some procedure is very menacing in some way, or it actually does hurt physically. So it's just, there's a wide variety of people out there that have conveyed very much the same thing. But I wanted to ask you, while you were those remembrances, obviously, do you remember, was there anything during your regressions that you remembered more of your state of mind, of what you felt? Was it like a weird feeling to be on these different ships or locations, whatever they are, or do you have any information on that?
Yes, I do. As an adult, I remembered some of the abductions. I would remember snippets. By the way, they did take scoops of flesh, uh, and so I had scoop marks as well. Um, so one, I felt I was sort of shown my future, and that I would always be working in technology. But at one point, I was in a spacecraft, and I call it a spacecraft. I don't know where we were. I suspect we were above the Earth, and I was with a bunch of really young men, uh, and we were all engineers of sorts. And I was looking at them with some degree of envy, but also some degree of resolve. Like I was envy that they had so much ahead of them and so much to accomplish, and the rewards of that. And at the same time, I was like, I'm glad I've gotten through that.
Hmm.
So it was a mixed feeling, if you will. And then another time I was on a deck, and I'm looking at the earth, and it was like being on someone's patio at their house, a concrete patio, but it was, um, they had like a plasma type window where it's not really glass, it's some sort of electronic field that I want to say it's plasma. And it was really nice just taking a look at the planet from that point. We were way out beyond the satellites. We were, probably halfway between the moon and the planet. Uh, so those were two that really stood out. And then other times, it's just been a routine, it's like assembly line kind of stuff.
Right. Pauline B from the chat, she was wondering, says, hi, Ednan, can you ask him if he can remember any before life agreements? Do you know what she's referring to there?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I was shown a group of light beings that are apparently beings that I return to Earth over and over with, and we play different roles. There were, I want to say there was 144. That's a number that sticks out. And they were varying intensities of light, and I understood that I was one of them. If I looked at them, they would show me a human form, but that was just for my reference, something that I could, they said, well, we're this, and a lot of times they approach me in a fashion to where I will understand it with references of this planet and the work I do. For example, like a computer network, they just showed me all of this light energy, and I just assumed it was equivalent to fiber optic. and it was a huge tube of light energy, and apparently it was a memory device. And how they store memory, it's all stored in light particles. Excuse me.
Oh, well, yeah. Wow, that's pretty interesting. I mean, please continue. Was there more? I mean, whatever you might remember, please do share. I mean, people out there would love to hear, and I
Well,
do as well, obviously.
most of this came out during the regression therapy with Dolores Cannon Trainer. It was a fellow out of Dallas, Texas, and I saw him 5 times. And I just wanted to find out why I had a physical problem that could not be treated medically. And once I realized what it was through the therapy, the problem went away. It dissipated. And I've never been bothered with it since. But it was the life between lives things that really got me. That we sort of pick what we want to experience. Um, we come up with kind of a plan, but we have freedom of freedom of choice. And so these variables are, some of them are up to us, but there's some hardcore stuff that we will experience. And I can remember that when I chose this life, that there were just some things I really wanted to experience, and I think I think I've accomplished that to some degree. You know, they have their list, I have my list, and sometimes I don't like what's on their list, but I just go
Right,
through it anyway.
right. And what about mm, were they with? So did they? Are they continuing this contact with you even now, or is this something that
Yeah,
subsided?
but it's not like they just come and visit, and usually I talk with them through meditation. And there is a group of us that get together who are pretty much on the same, experiencing the same thing. We were experiencers, and when we go into our meditation, it's really not a meditation. It's more of a communication. Last night, they show us symbols. They talk to us in symbols, and then it's up to us to do the research on the symbols to find out what the symbols are. And I'm not the sharpest tack in the box when it comes to some of this stuff. And when it's happening, I'll file it away, but I don't register what they're trying to say
Mm,
until later on after the fact. And then I can do some thought and meditation on it. And then it comes through me what they're trying to tell me or direct me to do.
okay,
So, like I said, they're thought bombs.
right. Yeah, no, see, it all, I don't know if when you say that, if that means the same thing that what I, experience, because sometimes somebody asks me, how does these, what is this communication like? And especially like psychic, if you are conveyed something or a lot of the information I was conveyed, it was so weird because you know how a lot of us we don't pay attention to this, but it happens to us all the time. Like, let's say you have a thought that, oh, I'm thirsty, I would like some water, and then there's this rush of like, okay, I'm gonna get up. There's the decision that you will get up to go get that water is there, and it's a lot of
Right.
times like, oh, I want to turn on the TV, and right before you do it, that decision is made, and there's like this jolt and flow little force behind it that makes you go click. And so that's how I often describe it. It's almost like these emotions and feeling that are conveyed that I translate what they would mean, you know, because it's almost like the emotion is conveyed and then I would translate it into what I understand it to be. Now the sentence could be a bit different, but the general goal is understood.
Yes. Right.
But, I
Right.
mean, do you agree?
So,
Do you agree on that?
yeah,
Is it something
I
similar to
agree.
what's
I
okay?
agree.
Right. Okay.
Well, for example, they wanted me to tell somebody something. I forget what the message was. And a lot of times when I relay messages, I don't remember them because the message really isn't for me. It's for somebody else. And this particular person, I just remember the process of it because I had to explain it to the individual in a way that they would understand. And so it can be very complicated communicating with them. And it's my limitations as a human are so apparent when I'm in that realm. Um, it a lot of it also involves, I think, our imaginations. I think our imaginations are the key to opening the doors over there. Um, and I think that takes us to another ability that a lot of us just don't we just don't capital cap we just don't take into account that our imaginations are a creative part of us, and that
Yeah,
creative part of us that works over there much better than here.
right. Well, did they ever give you any more information, or was it ever discussed about what, from their point of view, how they saw eventual full contact with humans, or was it just not something that you ever came across?
Well, I know that I was with a group, and we were taken. All of us were in this place, and there were different levels of us because I just knew that some people were had better levels of understanding and more time with these individuals, these entities than I did. But there's no jealousy. There's no I'm not jealous of somebody that's more capable. I just am, and I appreciate who I am and for the gifts that I have. But there are those that are taken that are far more, how should I say, self-literate than I am, and they have a better grasp and a better understanding. It's almost like parts of my brain are blocked, and I'm only allowed to understand just so much. And then there's a glass wall that I run into a lot, very well, frequently. So I
Also,
just take what I
right.
can.
So
Mhm.
you mean so
Go ahead.
regarding the so you mean regarding a contact, it's not something that you generally are too familiar with, or something that you couldn't really see what it would look like.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
It's something I'm not able to penetrate, and maybe it's
Mm,
not for me.
right.
But it definitely is for other people who I interact with who have gone on. I mean,
Okay. No, I understand. Well, Patrick, I'd love to talk to you. If you could just sit tight real quick, I just want to address the audience again. Um, so, right now, for those of you who might have logged in or watching, we're broadcasting on Telegram at the same time as we are on YouTube. So, there's, I think, between what you're getting on Telegram and what's being broadcasted out, there's like a 20, maybe 30-minute, 30-second delay. But anyway, all this is just simply open lines. Please join us if you like. Download the Telegram app on your computer or your phone, and just find the UFO Hub group. Join the voice chat, raise your hand, and I'll know you want to talk to me. But if you're just using Telegram or are online to watch, welcome. Enjoy yourself. So Patrick, the have you have you moved throughout? If you don't want to share this info, it's okay. But generally, why I'm asking, have you moved in different places, or have you generally always lived where you live now? I'm sorry if you
no,
said something earlier before, because I was going to say, were they obviously be able to find you?
no, I've lived all over the planet, and I've worked in in Alaska, all just every state in the U.S. pretty much with the type of work I do, and I've spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, and they just seem to be able to find me no matter what.
Right.
They did show me a vision when I was in Saigon one time that was sort of astounding. I was tired. I'd come home from a day of hiking, and I was at a hotel, and I was laying on the bed, and I looked up, and I could see through the wall, through the building, out into the sky, and I could see a hole in the sky, and it was. I just laid there in awe. I just could not believe what I was seeing. That what they were showing me is that a lot of what I think is real is not real. It's just the way I perceive it. It's the way the illusion is presented to me,
Right.
and I was very humbled about it.
And so were there just how many different beings did you interact throughout this lifetime? Can you maybe count it, or is it just something difficult to discern?
I don't have a number, and it wasn't any one particular type. And some of them I think I've interacted with, and you know, recently here on Earth, there are just some people that stand out that they weren't us. They weren't Earthlings, so to speak. And I just in their presence, I could feel it. It's just something you feel. Um, and like I said, I've not had any really bad experiences with any of it. It just is, and I just have to be awake. I have some other abilities too that I don't always talk about, but one of the abilities is sometimes I get a communication for someone from someone that's deceased or maybe about to die, and I just relay the information to them. And, and sometimes it's, well, I wouldn't say sometimes, it's almost always an explanation. Um, and that this doesn't happen frequently. It's just once in a blue moon. But these things I don't forget. I mean, they're too outstanding to forget.
Right. Well, well, I'm just trying to formulate the question in the sense. No, I'll just leave it be. Anyway, you know what? Because I was generally going to speak about us humans, but then I was like, I don't know if anyone. Well, maybe why not? Maybe they might understand, maybe not. You know, a lot of these different communications. I think this differentiation we make it between what we consider alien, because technically they could just be um, different dimensions that's not necessarily alien, and it's just simply um, other beings expressing themselves in the way they express it, and doesn't necessarily have to have this layered way of understanding the way we do, to where, well, if we go further out of this planet, there can only be other planets, and because we live on a planet, that means only other beings have to be on another planet, to where they have their civilization and their own history and stories and things like that. Where I find it that that's not the case at all. I don't know if you'd agree with that. It's simply that we are the ones being so stringent on how we look at it, because really, between talking to aliens and talking to people that we considered past, have passed on, to quote unquote the next life, there is no difference. That's what might be, I guess, I don't know, a little bit hard for some people to understand, maybe even consider it BS. But in my experience, and I'm speaking as an opinion, what would you say about that, Patrick?
Well, it's not just limited to beings of the humankind. I actually was visiting someone whom I did not know. Uh, uh, she was the sister of a friend, and a cat jumped on my lap, and it was a very heavy cat, and it started digging its claws in. The only thing is, there was no cat there, but I could feel it.
Right. Oh, okay. I thought that's all you were trying to say, that you perceived that even though you couldn't see it, that it still felt feline. Patrick, can you hear me? I guess we Patrick dropped off. I don't know what happened. Maybe he might come back. I'll leave him unmuted. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. He might come back here. So anyway, that was Patrick sharing his story, and we're just basically chatting online. If you maybe have some questions for the people that are talking, please let me know in your chat. Just make sure to put the three stars before your question. And thank you, Hazel, again. She reminded everyone in the chat, so I appreciate it. Um, yeah, we just basically is just hanging online, sharing stories, exchanging certain experiences. So it's not something that, it's not a fully structured, event like an interview, but it's simply just hanging out and talking to each other. So yeah, if you have any questions in chat, please do ask it, either of me or the guest that's or the person that's sharing the story, and just jot it down. But yeah, we I'm not sure what else we got, we'll have going on. And I just there's as I mentioned earlier, there's so many things that have been happening in my life that's more earthly regarding what's been happening in Colombia and my friends there. I was just wanting to see if I can help them in some way, and then my wife on the verge of giving birth. So, there's all these things that are happening that just kind of almost didn't make this show happen, because we thought initially that we're going to have to go, but it just turned out to be false alarm, and here we are. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, if there's something else you would like me to cover, if I don't know if Bradley feels like coming on today and chatting with me on Telegram more publicly. Oh, okay, Patrick just sent a message, said my phone suddenly powered down. Okay, let's see if we can get then Patrick back. Patrick, you're unmuted. Just unmute yourself on your end, and you should be back.
I'm back. The phone just suddenly powered down, so it's back. So I was talking about this cat. Well, the
Right.
cat showed me, it doesn't talk, but it showed me that it had a medical problem with its jaw, and that was showing me that it loved the owner very much, but it did not like the owner's husband. And but the cat was very adamant that I show the lady the cat's jaw, and so I told the lady, I said, "Excuse me, I don't know how to tell you this, but there's this very large cat sitting in my lap right now. You can't see him, and I can't see him, but I can certainly feel him. And he's just told me there was a problem with his jaw." And she said, "Yes, he starved to death. We thought it was an intestinal problem. The vet was sure it was in his stomach." And I said, "Well, the cat's saying it was his jaw. It was too sore. It was painful for him to eat."
Oh
So,
wow.
but that's the only time I've had any kind of animal communication.
Right. Yeah, a good friend of mine, uh, Catherine Hughes, and I also did an interview with her as well. She's basically a main thing initially that she started out was animal communicator, and she does. She described that there's a different feel to the different spirits coming through, whether it's human or more animal spirit, whether it be a cat, a dog, or or sometimes depends on which. Sometimes she works with people and that own horses, and these horses don't necessarily have to be, you know, moved on. They just, while they're still alive, having some difficulties, and um, their owners have basically reached the end of the line. They don't know what else they can do to help them, and they reach out to her. And it's interesting how she can just help them, and do all kinds of analysis that goes kind of beyond medicine. Now, of course, she would analyze it, and then the medicine is used, to then eventually help and get to the point. But it's interesting that just these perceptions that everyone can have them. Depends on what you want to focus on to be, to work on more of your natural abilities to become psychic, or just kind of kind of walk around the planet like the rest of people do, and just live your life, have fun, and eventually move on.
Yeah. Being psychic comes with a heavy burden. It's an obligation, um, and I'm not always willing. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah, no, it's sometimes, it's so weird because sometimes it's not necessarily psychic, but intuition, it plays such a large role in all our lives, but we don't give it enough credit. And all of us get that. That's the kind of like the part that sometimes saves us or helps us out in some way to make us act in ways that we usually wouldn't, that eventually turn out to be very beneficial. I had one particular experience. I was working in St. Louis, and often I would not like where I was at that time at my job, so I would go out for lunch, and I would kind of try to slack and spend more time at lunch, and then kind of return to the office late, which would kind of cut down into the day, and then I can get to go home. Well, anyway, this one particular time, for whatever reason, because of parking and all that, I was very late, and I was like, shoot, I better head back. And so I'm hurrying through every stop sign, every light that's there, because all those blocks have their own lights, and I'm just trying to get through. And so with this full on feeling of like, I gotta go, I gotta be there, I gotta get there as soon as I can. I'm waiting and waiting for this light to turn green, and it turned green, and out of nowhere that feeling just disappeared. Just disappeared. And it's like, it's like, you don't have to rush, everything's fine, what's going to happen, right? And so that made me stop for just about maybe 5 seconds to just halt on the green. And then I kind of came to my senses, and I'm like, what, I gotta go, why am I stopping? At that instant, a car at least 70 miles an hour just phew, just flew by. And I don't know what he was doing. I mean, usually, and I mean, it was close to 60, 70, and this was supposed to be like a 25, 30 miles per hour speedway. And if I was at this point where I would have been when if it turned green and I hit the gas, he would have just full on T-boned the car, and would have been an horrible accident. And so it's one of these things to where I can't, there was no more message given. It was just simply that feeling that changed. It made me just stop my usual what I was doing, and it potentially saved my life. Oh, sorry, Patrick. I was just kind of sharing a little bit of a story. But anyway, Patrick, if there's more that you would like to share, please do. Otherwise, Bradley seems to be just want to listen, and if he wants to talk, he can just raise his hand. But there's no one else that is joining us on Telegram, so please continue if you like, and I'll see if there's any more questions in chat for you, either you or I, or in general, and we'll just keep this going however long we can.
Well, pretty much summed it up. I mean, there are a lot of details. I could write volumes about it, but for the most part, it just that's the high points of it. I just feel sometimes I'm more in some other place and time, some other vibration, if you will, than I am here in this 3D reality. It's just like I'm straddling it. Uh, so I have to really focus hard to stay here and stay focused. And I don't know what that's all about. I really don't. It's just the way it is, and I've learned to live with it. And it's very difficult for people to live with me because of that. So there you go. And that's really about all I have to offer. Thank you.
Right. Okay, well,
Appreciate
Patrick,
it.
no problem. Thank you very much for joining me and sharing your story. I appreciate it. I hope more have the courage to come forward and simply share it. It's just, this is just supposed to be, a platform online for everyone else to hang out, even though we're not local to each other. So that way, I know Bradley's in South Africa, and others, Spain and France and all over the place. So that way we can kind of have a international weekly UFO meeting. So thank you for joining or sharing your story. But yeah, so if any of you would like to share the story, join me on Telegram. And I don't know if Bradley maybe wants to talk a little and share his story or talk about something, but I'll just leave him be. And if any of you in chat have anything else to say that you would like to maybe have me talk about something if you're interested. But other than that, it's just I don't know if it's a Wednesday still for everybody, um, a Wednesday for everyone else, or obviously not for everyone around the world, because I know in Australia it would already be Thursday, and actually Thursday early morning, and yeah, and then late, really late for those in Europe, it should probably be around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning right now for them. Do. There's all this stuff going back and forth. Let me see if there's any other questions in chat. But yeah, those that are just now joining us, welcome. Oh yeah, Patrick V says, "Thank you, Patrick," and Pauline B, you said your higher self may be Adnan. Can you are you asking me to talk about the higher self? Is that what you're referring to? If you can clarify that for me, please, I'd appreciate it. Oh, Hazel says, Adnan, have you worked it out yet? You have something going on that you wasn't sure about. Um, I haven't. It takes a lot longer to work out, and I think I gotten to a point to where I've just recently gotten an understanding about it. Oh hell, why not? Let's talk about it. I know you brought it up, so I guess there's no accidents. There's no better time than to talk about it now. So the things that a lot of times, as I mentioned before, when something occurs, I like to kind of understand it myself, go through that experience, however fearful or joyful, whatever it is, going through it, understanding it, and then convey to the people of like, oh, well, this is how I understood it. And others usually like, oh, yeah, me too. And it matches. But sometimes I learned something different from certain experiences where I know someone had maybe told me about it, but based on my experience, I could, showed me more and I understood it differently. And so not in a way to where I have to correct them, but again, it's the personal private experience that I trust most before I can speak about it. Because if I'm just conveying someone else's story, it leaves room for errors and misunderstanding and all kinds of things. So with that being said, one of the particular things that I wasn't it was so a lot of the fearful things that occur and things that are very hard to um, I guess to kind of disseminate. I usually just keep looking at it, keep going along with it until more understanding comes to me. And it's usually through synchronicity or just simply like these short downloads where I just, okay, I understand now why this is happening this way, and it alleviates that fear, so that now I'm not speaking to you about something fearful and potentially spreading that. It gives me this higher and better understanding so I can convey to you. So with that being said, there was an experience that after I had, I'm not going to go into great detail about it now, but when I had my near death experience and I came back, and when I came back, I was still very much in tune with this connection that's for out there. Even though I came back from there, but I was still very much connected to that frequency. And so I just kind of used it to then, even though I was very weak, and and what I had went through, I basically poisoned myself. I took too much of this certain substance by accident. It wasn't I wasn't intending that. So the point was, even though I was so very much tired, I just kind of wanted to still continue asking and searching and seeking however much I could. One of one of the things that had occurred is, as I was connected and I had just come back and I understand what that there's that life doesn't end, right? It continues. It always just transforms and evolves into something new. all of a sudden I had this, this feeling to where now that connection was cut. Then the connection of for my outside world was cut to where I saw my room and everything, but the meaning of it was lost. Usually when you look at something, you immediately go, "Oh, room, light switch." Whatever items you recognize, your brain kind of identifies it for you, and you see it and you're comfortable because it's something you recognize. Well, all of that went away, and it was just going away, going away, going away, till I just found myself in the darkness, to where there was nothing else existed but me. And it was this deep understanding that there is only just me there. There's different versions of me out there that knows themselves as all of you, and all of us collectively as God. But when it comes down to it, there was just me. But that experience, that darkness, that nothingness, that void, created such a psychotic shock in me, to where it basically I passed out. It was so much fear. It was so much despair that I just basically shut down. I couldn't handle it physically, and I fell. I was standing at that point, and I fell over. Not I was already weak to begin with, but with that understanding, it's just something so profound to have to come to terms with. It's almost, I can definitely see now if people that often, when they're faced with something out in the world, with something that they can't deal with, that they create this multiple personality disorder, to where a personality just like splits itself into the one that can't deal with it, and a different one that has the solution that can deal with it to sustain this body, right, to for you to continue to exist. So I understand how that can happen. In my case, as far as I know, thankfully didn't. I still remain me, who I always have been, but I just couldn't deal with it. It was something that it's like, oh my God, like, am I just here talking to myself, that there really is nothing and no one out there? And so anyway, that's something that created um, a lot of anxiety and fear in me, because I didn't want to go there. I don't want to go there again, and I didn't understand how did that come in. It's like I was just in this place that you go to, that I've known, that when you pass on, that's where you go. But then what is this place? And plus the fear and love difference was tremendous. Here you are, just absolute love to just absolute fear. It's almost like, it had to balance itself out within that experience. You had this awesome experience, but here's extreme fear just for these few minutes. So anyway, all of that happened, and I didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to convey, because I still felt deep down, it's like there has to be something there. There has to be a different understanding. And so I understood that either through download or synchronicity or some way I will understand it, but I didn't want to talk about it. And so somebody asked me that, and I forgot exactly who it was, said, was there something that I experienced that I didn't talk about in any length of time? And that was primarily it. I might have maybe mentioned it, but not to this extent. And so what had happened was, usually, because it's been years since I've been basically listening to any kind of channeling from Bashar, and the core understanding that I took from it, I basically just taken in and can live my life that way. I have that tool to look at things, to analyze, and then with my own personal experience, you don't need to kind of go back to square one, having to listen to a channel over and over again. So at this point, it's been years, and so what was interesting is that there was an event that they were doing, and it was still pre-COVID, where you can watch the streaming or be there in person. Well, I don't have the time, and I know I can't watch them, so I always receive their emails, but I delete them sometimes. Like, oh great, they have an event, I can't attend. Well, this one particular one just stuck out, and I was wondering, like, why did that just happen? So I called my wife. I said, I know we got some plans, but do you want to watch this with me? And she's like, sure, let's watch it, whatever's happening. It was happening within a short period of time of when I got the email. Like a few days later, it was gonna happen. Not like they make an announcement and then several months later to some where you sometimes forget. And so we bought the tickets, and so we sat there and we're watching, and I'm watching just to see. I mean, a lot of things that people bringing up, I'm understanding. I'm very well familiar with it. I'm trying to understand. Maybe is there something that I don't know that I should maybe take in more? And then what happened was the gentleman got in line, and he described my feeling. He described my feeling exactly to Bashar, and I just kind of tuned in. I was like, this is exactly why I was watching this, because I was trying to see what will he describe, and then he just and Bashar just, as always, without skipping a beat, the way he would describe it, and once he described it, it just made perfect sense. It made perfect sense why, that it would work that way, which was this: between these different realities, if you, as I'm understanding it, so I'm paraphrasing in my own way, if you're switching these different realities, there's a focus on everything here. So there's definitions that are already pre-built that you interacting with this world, so you understand you're breathing air. There's buildings, there's this knowledge, right? This is this dimension. When you're shifting these dimensions to shift into something else or somewhere else, you almost have to, he calls it a shift into neutral. Well, that neutral spot is going to be absolutely neutral, which is that it has no meaning. There's no one else there. It's just simply you, right? And then before you then, while when you shift to that, through that, then you shift on to wherever you need to go. There's no specific direction, shifting up, shifting down. The point is that feeling, that understanding was the neutral zone before you let go of one reality to join the other reality. And that's what had happened. So when it occurred to me, I didn't understand what it was, nor was I willing to sit around much longer to find out where this is going. I just freaked out, had the shock, and passed out. And so Hazel, I guess thanks for bringing that out in me. But yeah, it wasn't something I necessarily meant to speak. But because there's each one of these events, they have all these stories on their own. Like I could focus a whole hour sometime or more to talk about them. And when it comes to these conference settings, everyone just wants the meat of the story. Most of the time, whatever they want, whatever was the main events to go on, And so anyway, I hope that kind of answers your question. If you can confirm to me in chat, I'd appreciate it, since I can't see you or hear you. But that's the part that I wasn't willing to talk about yet. But I figured, I guess at this point, I don't know that I will get more from it. All I know is that it was an absolutely terrifying state to be in, when you are, when all the understandings, all the meanings has been cut off from your general understanding, and you understand there's just you in that space, in that neutral space, because it's not nothing is assigned to it. It's a simple void, before you shift over to something new, to where then you have other understandings and you adapt those. So anyway, I hope that makes sense to you. If it didn't, ask me to clarify something about it. But that is basically the gist of the whole story. Okay, let me see. Let me catch up on chat. Okay, we have 5D Raven. Just want to say hello. Look like they have joined. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. You guys are just chatting with each other, which is perfectly fine. I was just trying to see if there was something or someone out there that wanted um, to say something or ask a question. But yeah, it's in general, it's I'm glad that whatever happened happened when I was still single, and there was no way that I could go through these things in the manner that I did with having two children, a third one on the way, and all the things that are happening, because a family always needs preferably a stable household with both parents good heads on their shoulders, and having to go through this crazy stuff that I did years ago. Now I could not imagine that. I would be a total mess. It would just be I would just not I would just be kind of sitting there in a chair staring off at one point, trying to, like, to make sense of what had happened to me, and it would not be beneficial to anyone in the family. So I'm glad that all of that is the the root core understandings about certain concepts have been already explored by me, and so of course there's never an end to that. I'll always continue, but at least I'm not gonna be a total head basket moving forward. With having a family, you almost can't. You still got to go to work and make sure the kids are fed, and there's still a roof over over everyone's head, and of course my wife is doing the same job. It's not just me, but I'm just saying that it wouldn't have been fair to her if she had a fourth kid to take care of, other than the the other the other three. Pauline B asked, Adnan, have you heard of the uh, OBE, I assume out of body experience writer, Jürgen Sieve? Sieve is a German. Um, no, I have not. I'm sorry, Pauline. I, I did not hear about this person. Uh, Sorry if I'm silent. I hate to have just silence on a live stream, but this Hazel asked another question, asking, "Do you think that all this happened to you at the right time? So in latter years, you had a better understanding." Yeah, okay, maybe I just if you listen to it, I was just explaining. You beat me to it, or I beat you to it. Yes, but basically, it just there was very well a reason why all of that was occurring, because it's weird. It's uh you have to understand, for me to kind of do this, even though I had experiences younger, um for me to do this, it's almost as surreal or weird to be able to have UFO Hub and continue it with the passion that I do. It's as weird as, let's say, a quarterback football player. Not that I was. I'm just giving you these drastic differences, like having a quarterback football player being passionately involved in knitting. Okay, it's that different, to where they're just enthralled in knitting and are all into it and talking to people about knitting and going to knitting groups and all of that. That's how this feels to me, to go from how my life was before to literally just be this enthralled with the UFO subject and doing UFO hub and interviews and all these things. Sometimes, yeah, I'm not exactly sure where it's going, but I just know that I always like to talk about it, and so I just figured, well, why not do this with all of you guys online? But although it first just started out with interviewees and people that have generally put themselves out there and are very well known to already talk about the ufology field, but it's like I know there's everyone else out there like me that just wants to talk about it. So I figured open lines, creating something like that would be great. After it was suggested to me by one of the people in comments, they were saying they originally wanted me to. They were saying, what if I started? What's the other one? There's Telegram and there's um, Discord, to open up a Discord group and have basically people contact me that way. So I looked into it and I put that poll out there, and I asked, do you want Telegram or Discord, and a lot of you chose Telegram. So I already had Telegram. I've been using it for a while now, so it worked out great, especially with their new voice chat option. They had just implemented it, so it worked out great to be able to have you guys contact. Okay, give me 1 second. Patrick raised his hand. All right, Patrick, you are unmuted.
Yes, I want to mention that I do this meditation with a group of men, and we're pretty diverse. It's one is a building contractor, one owns a restaurant, one owns some sort of he works for some sort of private nonprofit. But we were just going to get together and do meditation for about an hour, one night a week, and just force ourselves into doing it. And what has happened is that one of them started seeing entities, and then all of us started seeing entities when doing our meditation. You mentioned about someone mentioned about the color. As they were doing the work, you could see the color. Well, these colors would flood over our closed eyes when we were doing this, and then
I'm
these
sorry, say that again.
faces would be
Somebody mentioned what your connection kind of was shifting.
when you were doing like some energy work, somebody was doing some energy work, and there was color flooding over
Oh,
you.
color. Yes, I didn't hear that
Yes,
part.
yes.
It
Uh,
was it. Go ahead.
okay, so there was color flooding over us. Well, we would start seeing images of entities, and they appeared. One appeared to be like a 16-year-old girl, just beautiful, 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 and she would show up on a regular basis. Never anything verbal communicated with us, but she wanted to show us something, and it was like in another realm, if you will. Well, so it was about this time. It was last summer, as a matter of fact. I was at a doctor's office, and I was getting ready to fire this doctor because I we weren't coming up with any solutions to a problem I was having. But I just had to hear him out, and so he's going on and on. About that time, I had an aura migraine, and that's where you see like fractals of light. It's like looking through a kaleidoscope, and you just sort of go blind for about 15 minutes. And there's no pain involved with it, but you're not going to go anywhere while you're experiencing one of these because you can't see to drive. So I told the doctor I was experiencing an aura migraine, and the doctor put me in a dark waiting room. About that time, when I was sitting there, a text came in from a friend in Vietnam, and he said he wanted to know why I was in a doctor's office and why I wasn't taking the doctor seriously and what was wrong with me. And he picked that up in the middle of the night in Vietnam and texted me to confirm it. And I was blown away to say the least. And so apparently we've connected on another level that's over and above our comprehension or our level of understanding. And so we are, as a meditating group, we seem to be connected. To something larger, if you will, like a light network or whatever. But if he tunes into me, he knows what I'm doing. And the thing is, he understood everything that was going on between the doctor and I. It was as if we were standing right there. But better still, he was reading my thoughts. And so I just thought I'd add that. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Thanks for sharing that. Don't go away yet. Um, s- um, well, what I was gonna say is this happening only with this group that you have, or
Yes, we seem to be linked up.
okay.
And I've tried to bring other people into the group, and they don't they don't seem to be able to connect like those of us that had started the group. It's almost like we're a nucleus, and they can see something is going on, but they can't interact with it, if you will. So one of us recently left and moved to Costa Rica because he did not want a vaccination,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, it was extremely difficult for the rest of us. It was almost like somebody had cut something out of us, if you will, and we felt a real disconnect with him.
Well, was he
And
thinking the vaccination was going to be forced on him or something?
oh, I don't know. He started hearing voices and he decided to leave. And so it was his decision.
Right.
But it was like something was extricated from us, almost like somebody had pulled a tooth, and it was very painful for us. Uh, my other friends aren't as easy to express what's going on with them as I am, but for me, it was worse than any kind of breakup I've ever experienced in my life, and I'm talking about teenage angst.
Oh,
It was
wow.
worse than that. It was painful.
Right. No, I mean, if you have that strong of a connection, I mean, it makes sense. It would make perfect sense why that would be happening.
I've split up with partners of 17 years, and it wasn't nearly nothing. This was really painful.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, do you guys still, do you sense
oh
that you're still
yeah,
kind of all connected though, on
we
this
we
different
since we're
level?
connected, and we continue to get together on Tuesday nights, and that's our big deal. Um, and so we still feel very much like a unit, if you will.
Okay.
And we're so diverse, though, in who we are in this world and what we do, that it's almost comical that the three of us come together in this other place and have such unity. Yeah,
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing, Patrick. I appreciate it.
sure.
Um, okay. Well, if and generally, if there's no other questions and uh, no one else on Telegram that wants to just continue chatting, um, and Patrick had shared a great deal, and I certainly appreciate that. Um, I'm thinking about just you know ending the stream. If you I guess I don't know if you guys want to keep going. If you guys in the chat can share a thumbs up, and then that way I can kind of get a sense consensus. If you would rather be done with it, then I guess put a thumbs down. I'm just curious. It's gonna take about 20 seconds for all you guys to hear me and then convey your answer to me. I hope. Yeah, because there's always a chance for and anyone that would like to is to also join Telegram and chat with me. Okay. Well, Hazel looks like she wrote thumbs up. Let me see if I can. I think I can have a. I think they have these emojis here. I don't know. Never really check out these emojis and see what they have available. Trying to see if I can find a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Yeah, it's here somewhere. I don't want to spend half the night looking for it. There's just so many of them out there too. Okay, we have Hazel, the 5D Raven, Peace, and then ZZ. So I guess he's going to sleep and is tired. something. Oh, okay. For him, it doesn't matter. Well, if um, I guess then I figured I'll just end the stream here, and I appreciate you guys joining in so far, and maybe next time for all you still watching, if you already know ahead of time, if it's a bit of a slow open lines, if you guys have some other questions already lined up, just throw those out, and we'll see who to address them or talk about them. But I do appreciate you logging in today. We've been on for about an hour 40 minutes roughly, so um, share it with others. Let others know if more join the group that would like to talk. The more, the merrier. And if you generally like the channel, please subscribe and uh, interact with the like or dislike button on any of the videos on UFO Hub, because that usually helps with the algorithm. The more people find out, the more will be hopefully drawn to it, and then we'll just draw a larger and larger community. Not that there isn't some communities already out there, but I'm hoping that we can just have this truly be a UFO hub of just people meeting, talking about UFOs and whatever else that's metaphysical in general. So, um, all right. Well, thank you all very much. It looks like I haven't heard any news from my wife yet, which is good. That means she's either resting, watching the show, or doing something else. So thank you all again very much for logging in and or tuning in and watching this. Please tune in on Friday. I'm working on getting a guest. I don't have anyone lined up yet. I have a few that I reached out to, so we'll see what will work out. And as always, either the night before or on that day in the morning, I will already create a live stream and put it out there, and it'll tell you when it's going to be. And usually it's at 7 p.m. Central Time. And so that way you can kind of hit the reminder button. Make sure also in the subscription on the notifications to click on the bell button, and then to make sure to get all notifications, because some people say, oh, you went live but I didn't get this. And I've noticed a lot of YouTubers do that. I don't know if they're just saying that because they heard others, but I just know from personal experience and what y'all have told me on chat, that you don't get the notifications. So it's supposed to notify you, but if it doesn't work for some reason, YouTube is slacking some way, hopefully all notifications might do something different, because they have 3 different tiers of those notification belts. So anyway, yeah, I'd appreciate any share. Tell your friends, family, whoever you like, that to join us and just make this more of an open online group. Um, Okay, well, thank you all very much. Take care, and I should see you Friday.